Ladies and gentlemen, K Kim here. Welcome to the daily update. Hope you guys had a good day trading today. S&P is up about 0.5%, pretty much across the board. The market is up about that much, about 0.5%. Nasdaq maybe a little lower. I think the banks and the small cap is pretty much flat, but kind of a grindy day, kind of a slow day. But I think last couple days market is actually correcting through time, and I'm going to explain that looking at the oscillator later today, but let's later on this video. But let's first talk about what happened today and trying to figure out what we can expect going into tomorrow, right? So this was yesterday, right? On the yesterday's video, we talked about how that gap got filled. When the gap gets filled, it's going to act as support. I've also mentioned last night that we're probably going to see some kind of bounce going into today since the gap was filled. And with that, you can see that rising pivot, right? Tweeted out earlier today that rising pivot was holding up. So that's a first hour. Looks like we saw very slight gap down on the first hour right at open, and then we did see a little bit of rally there. On the second hour, we came back down to the lows, hit that rising pivot there, saw a little bit of dip buying activities, got back up here. Third hour, we saw a little bit of push, but was not able to break above that micro term resistance. And then a fourth hour pullback a little bit, fifth hour pullback, initially got right back up. And then on the last hour, we finally broke above the micro term resistance right here. Got back above, or got back to recent swing high here in the resistance in the short to a micro term level there at 326, which is a gap area, which it has stalled yesterday, right? But a little bit of different picture because yesterday we saw price failing in the micro term, but this time we saw price advancing in the micro term above the rising pivot. Keep in mind, we're still cultivating higher lows, higher highs there, right? And we still have that kind of an uptrend going on. So as we talked about yesterday, the posture should be bullish going into today and going into tomorrow. The posture should be bullish going into tomorrow as well, but being aware the fact that we are at that resistance area, but that's a very short micro term resistance. It's not very strong. If we do see a fallback, we may continue to consolidate above this level here. This is what I call rising pivot. That means prior resistance is now acting as new support, right? So so we still dealing with that gap area. We initially filled a little bit yesterday. That gap, we're slowly kind of filling that gap. Remember that gap started here, came all the way to here, but we filled a little bit of that yesterday. We're kind of right at it today, and it looks like the buyer is gonna go up and fill that gap, a little bit of that gap tomorrow. So best case scenario for the buyers is trying to gap up as much as I can tomorrow. Any kind of little gap, like this kind of gap, that's what happened here. We see that was about 0.4, 0.5% gap up. We sideways and then kind of pooped, right? Like decent size, like 1% or 0.89% would be a decent size gap up. Potentially we could continue higher, even fill this entire gap by Friday if we see a decent size gap up going into tomorrow. 1% or higher, I think. Let's look at the oscillator here real quick. So we talked about yesterday how bulls were getting tired, right? And we did see that oscillator curling down yesterday, but we had to remember the fact that price can correct through time or correct through price. There are times where price does correct through price, right? Hey, right here, like we got to the overbought and then price came down and then oscillator came down and reset it, right? But this time we did see overbought, but we're not seeing this. We're seeing sideways. Why? While the oscillators is pulling back, as you can see, that's what you call correcting through time. So buyers are resting because buyers did make a nice bullish run here, got tired. Buyers want to rest. but want to make sure they don't want to lose this momentum. So they get rested, and then the oscillator gets reset, right? Probably come back down here. We haven't curled back up though. We got little something, but nothing quite yet. So it will be important tomorrow if we do see a gap up, if we do see advancement in price tomorrow, you're probably gonna go see that oscillator crossing back up. When we do see that oscillator crossing back up, afterwards, that cross up will get the price to get up and fill this gap at 333. So going into tomorrow, overall posture is bullish. We do have higher lows and higher highs. Short-term sentiment is bullish. We're right at this resistance level. Only question now is how much buyers can utilize this here and push up higher, right? If we see some kind of shenanigan gap down or first couple hours of sell-off, this could see this thing falling back over and then hitting that support right here. So that means, you know, bears are not quite tired yet. We got some room to the downside, right? So, you know, looking at this here, that's a support right here, right now on this oscillator. It's been elevated though. When you see the oscillator elevated, oscillating back and forth at the top of its band, never coming back down to the bottom of its band, that means we're in an uptrend and buyers are building energy to shift into the second, third, and fourth gear to go up and to make that trend go up faster and faster. We learned about that back in May and June, right? So we're seeing very similar effect happening here. This is the reason why, despite the fact that we did see, you know, oscillator pulling back, price just doesn't even budge. We don't even see any kind of weakness there because the energy has already built. We're kind of in that zone where buyers are in that, you know what I mean? In that, like, in that mode, in that bullish mode, in that zone where they just want to keep pushing it up. And that's kind of what we saw in the last several days. You know, you see that any kind of small declines been bought up and able to push the price higher. So, bears can still kind of bring it down a little bit. Let's see if I do, like a secondary fan line support, we're kind of right there. Let's put it there. Let's make that into like a lighter. Let's make that into like a lighter, like that, right? Let's do, let's make lighter support there. So if we do see an advancement in price tomorrow, this thing will kind of gap back up to the overbought level. And with that cross up, because it's been, so now you can see not only we got this level here, now is doing that. If we do see a move, we could generate that kind of a bullish momentum that could get us to fill this gap at 333. So we have a ton of bullish momentum right now. We are in that sentiment where, you know, there isn't a whole lot of fear in the market as far as the price is concerned. The overall sentiment is very bullish, and there could be some kind of, you know, abrupt buying move that could get us to fill this gap. I think that's what the buyers are working on with this setup right here. So I will tweet things out tomorrow, right? You can follow me at 2K Kim on Twitter and stock tweets. And if I do see that oscillator crossing back up, I'll tweet things out. If not, if we do see this thing coming down, right, breaking below that that initial support, I'll also tweet things out. And we got the rising pivot. That's the level you want to hold. Even if we do see some kind of a pullback, maybe that level gets hold and then go higher. So we'll talk about it tomorrow. I'll come back for you guys tomorrow night also, but during the day I'll tweet things out and give you guys an alert, let you know what's going on in the market. But right now, going into tomorrow, overall posture should be bullish. We'll go from there, right? You guys enjoy your evening and good luck trading tomorrow.